Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son get together and talk about science fiction, fantasy, and what other ever nerdy stuff we want to talk about. We're bringing to you another Tiny Talk today, 5 minutes or less, spoiler free, talking about a book, because this is a book blast episode on, as Zach is demonstrating, The Blade itself. Book one in Joe Abercrombie's First Law trilogy. I read these a while ago. Zach is just catching up on them, more recent now. And in fact, you've only read the first one, right, Zach?
Correct. I've read this first one, but then as I do like a psychopath, I jump around to other series rather than just reading and completing one series at a time.
So if you're the way I want to say this is your reactions are based only on the first book. You have no context to the bigger trilogy.
I know almost nothing beyond. Now, granted, I read in a slightly spoilery context, so I know little nuggets maybe beyond, but really, it's just this one.
For those of you watching who have read the whole trilogy, you know how delightful it will be to hear his reactions then, only really knowing book one. If you enjoy this, be sure to like and subscribe. We have lots of good content we're going to keep bringing to you here. So let's do some of it now, Zach. Give us your reactions to The Blade itself.
Let's start by saying this is definitely grimdark. Two big things that come from that to me. One, I really like how the characters are. That doesn't mean I necessarily like or relate to any of the characters, but
you're not supposed to necessarily, right?
Yeah, I said it was a red flag when someone said that their favorite character that they related to was Glocta. But generally speaking, I like broken characters, people with these massive flaws, and whether they overcome them or not, how they shape the character, and that's prevalent in pretty much every character. They've all got something going on. The other thing is a almost grotesque amount of violence and how it's described. Specifically, I remember pretty early on reading a scene, I looked over to Rachel and said, "You never want to read this book." She has a really hard time with any sort of violence that is believable. Like if it is in the realm of possibility of, yeah, that would actually happen, and then she can like think about it and gets in her head, it's a problem. If someone blows up, it's fine. If someone does something
people do blow up in real life. They do.
Yeah, but it's a little more removed from the realm of possibility for what she might experience. And so I just looked at her and said, never read this book.
So you've certainly touched on things that are about the book, which kind of go along with the grimdark genre. You mentioned how you like the characters, the way the characters are designed. But what else are some features of this novel that someone might enjoy?
There is, for sure, I always hate when I get big.
We all grew up sometimes, Zach.
There are definitely some parts in the book that get into some political intrigue, as well as some very interesting concepts about magic systems and what it means one way or another. It's not a straightforward A to B storyline. There are many characters, many different ideas of what they want to happen and what is going on, and there's a complexity to it that I quite enjoyed. That being said, I almost can say this book doesn't stand up on its own, which is to say I very much enjoyed it. I did like the plot elements that I was seeing in all of this, but none of the results and payoffs felt final. They all instead are something that very clearly leads into this is going to be more. The stakes are not settled here. They continue, there is going to be more, and you need that more to make some of the setup in this work. So I would classify this as the beginning section of a story. It is not a full story. It is the first book in a trilogy.
I appreciate you use the word complexity. There is a lot to it, and I completely agree. This is a lead in to what's to come. Book two, significant changes, big additions to the story arc, something quite impressive, and I think you'll enjoy it. I found book two way better than book one. Maybe that's just me. We'll see if you agree later.
I mean, on complexity, there are 2 or 3 storylines that never, ever meet up with the quote-unquote main storyline in this book, at least.
Okay, that's all we got. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.